We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound. If you want to talk about Division III basketball, you logged on to the right place.
Welcome to the big show.
Whereas on the men's side, I think they overloaded 2 of the brackets, and as a result, I think we're not going to get a good Final Four in the sense of who everyone really would like to see there.
The system is a mess, guys, but I think that's neither here nor there.
The next 3 hours, we'll cover it all.
We don't have the time to move pieces because conferences are playing their title games on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, for God's sake. I'll tell you what, I'll support them. You guys are going to get to the Sweet 16 and get annihilated by Stevens Point.
With regional reports.
We've talked a lot about the fact on the men's side that there's not a lot of dominant teams, and the flip side of that is that you have a lot of parity that makes the conference races exciting.
And interviews with coaches.
Hey, it's great to be on Hoopsville. I tell you, it's that time of the year.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much for having me.
This D3 basketball is the greatest. The players, they play because they love it. They're fun. The teams are playing. You go to these other campuses. It's where it's at.
And we knew that the ODAC competition was going to be very tough. We knew that each coach had done their job with recruiting. And there were so many young teams that we just knew that each and every night when we played an ODAC contest that we had our work cut out for us.
We'll talk about who's on top.
And the CCRW is much like the Wisconsin League, the WIAC, and that. I mean, really, it's a cliche, but it's true. On any night, anyone can beat you.
Those surprises.
Every game counts, especially
play
the
your
regional
season.
games. Yeah.
Don't lose to a bad team.
Well, and don't lose your conference tournament.
And who's making news in Division III.
We got an awful tough league, and we have some tough games this week, but we're still tied for first place in our league in the loss column.
And as you point out, they're not a reliable team in the NCAA tournament. They've proven it year in and year out that you can't count.
You can even join in and chat with us.
I mean, this lower right-hand bracket is loaded.
This bracket is ridiculous. I mean, you could take a Final... This could be a Final Four bracket. You want to play that Thursday game because you have not won an NCAA tournament game. You got to go out there and show yourself that you can actually do it.
So sit back and relax, and let's talk D3 hoops.
We talked before about Hope Calvin being far and away the #1 rivalry in Division III basketball. You can't dispute it.
I think the WIAC always deserves 2 teams in the poll for sure, and probably 3.
Well, one, I think they got the easiest run to a possible Final Four. They don't have a lot of challenges on the way.
There were 3 teams in that region that deserved first-round buys.
Exactly.
And only 2 could get them.
Now it's time for Hoopsville.
Great show. Keep this up. This is a good thing for D3, and I will enjoy listening to the rest of the show.
Let's get it started in here.
Everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, get it started, get it started, get it started. Let's get it started.
Here's your host, Dave McHugh.
LSU Bears are back on top in women's basketball, winning their 5th title in 9 tries. First, though, since 2001 season. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, and I'm actually on the road, traveling back from Salem, Virginia, along with Pat Coleman in the passenger seat. We'll give you a little bit of a recap of the weekend as we work our ways back to our homes. If you got any questions for us, you're welcome to fire them off. We'll try and answer them, and not during this interview, obviously, but throughout the show, and try and get you answers. You can always email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. You can also IM us on that AOL IM if you happen to use it. That is Hoopsville 2000 And, of course, you can join us in the chat room. That's where most people ask their questions. Or you can even follow us on Twitter. And I promise in the off-season we'll try and keep that thing up and running as well. So it's Pat Coleman and myself, again, on the interstate, heading back to our homes from Salem, Virginia. My 10th visit here. Pat, what's yours, 13th?
Yeah, 13th for basketball, and there's another...
Countless more.
Yeah, 12 Stag Bowls in there. But I think this is my first Hoopsville on the highway, so I'm pretty thrilled.
Yeah, this one's my first, too. And for any of you who are just starting to tune in, wondering how in the world we're doing this from the road, it's... Magic. And no, it's not live.
Not this part of the show.
No, not this part. We'll try and talk to some of the coaches as we're driving back. We're working on those details. We're going to try and talk to Coach Semling and Coach Fay, the 2 title recipients, and maybe some players. We'll see what we can do. We'll also try and get a hold of Bob Quillman. We'll talk to Gordon Mann, we hope. If not him, somebody else. It's all in the process as we're working our way north on I-81. Pat, let's start with your kind of reactions to both weekends, really, both Illinois Wesleyan and down here at the Salem Civic Center.
Well, I'll say that it was from the way the women's Final Four went. Obviously, Gordon is going to give a much better rendition of what went on there, being an eyewitness. But from reaction from how it works into the whole Division III lexicon sort of thing. It was nice to see WashU come back and win another title. They had of course, the 4-year run up from 1998 to 2001, including a long stretch in which they were literally unbeatable. And then they got knocked off by Stevens Point in the I think it was the second round in 2002 or maybe the sectionals. And they've been they certainly weren't
average.
They weren't average. They just
for them.
Yeah, they weren't awesome.
Right.
They weren't unbeatable, and they but they got back to the title game last year. They had a shot to win it at the end, and couldn't get it done with about 7 or 8 seconds left. I'm now working from memory, of course, so I apologize. And then this year, nearly got knocked off by Amherst in the national semifinals. Came back, scored the first 12 points of overtime, won that game, and then I actually still want to learn more about what happened in the WashU Hope game, and I'm looking forward to watching it on my DVR on CBS College Sports when I get back to the house.
Very nice.
On the men's side, though, it was just an awesome weekend, top to bottom, or left to right, I guess. I don't know. Thursday through Sunday morning, we had 3.5 great games. We had 4 good games, including the All-Star game. I thought the All-Star game was great.
Terrific.
I think I know the coaches, the NABC people, are really happy about how it turned out, and they should be. It was a great show.
Oh, agreed. I think the highlight, and we had said going in, I'm saying it for the umpteenth time, it was almost too bad we didn't have the consolation game this time just for the teams that were there, but the All-Star game was terrific. It was a perfect way to kind of start our morning in Salem. And I mean, the guys played hard. Those who didn't get a chance to be playing in the championship game, Clay Henson, Tyler Sanborn, Michael Strickland, Tim Lawrence, if I get those names correct off the top of my head. Yep. They get a chance to play, and some people are like, geez, Randolph Macon, 2 guys who really didn't play are playing in this All-Star game. Tim Lawrence almost won the game at the buzzer in regulation.
Tim Lawrence scored 11 points.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody looked out of place. There wasn't a single guy there. And we know all these guys. We see them on paper. Maybe we've seen snippets of them on video or watched some some games from whether it's Adam Choice at Colby. I'd never actually seen him play.
Right.
I'd heard.
I was impressed with Hollins.
Yeah, I'd heard great things about Darnell Braswell. It's nice to see him play. Josh Charlo from St. Lawrence wasn't a guy we really heard about because we don't hear a lot from the Liberty League people, and there's not a lot of video up there. But he played well. He played hard. I was really impressed with.
He's probably the biggest hustler out there.
Yeah, and I was really impressed with a kind of a hustly play he made about 40 feet away from the basket to feed someone for a fast break. I was just really I was really impressed, and I think that this year the third place game would have been. I thought it would have been a real downer, Dave, actually, because it would be Guilford and Randolph Macon playing for the 4th time.
And the 10:30 in the morning is always tough too.
Yeah, it was the perfect. it was the perfect storm, and I hate cliches, as you know.
Yeah.
So it just worked out. Everything fit together perfectly.
The other thing that was terrific about it was guys like Tyler Sanborn and Clay Henson, who wanted to be in nothing but the championship game, came out. They were thrilled to be there. They were having fun. And Clay Henson went off for 35 points, shooting the lights out of the building. You kind of wish he could have done that the night before. I know he tried. They basically gave him a green light no matter what his situation was in the semis. But he went out and had fun and shot well. Tyler Sanborn was battling inside. So even these guys who wanted to be in the championship game got a chance to play with some of their cohorts, like the Sean Wallaces and, guys you don't normally see. Now, the funny thing was they were on opposite teams just to make things even. And I think there was a moment there that Tyler Sanborn completely forgot. If none of you watched the game, Sanborn brought down another one of his rebounds. He had tons of them throughout the tournament, obviously, and his career. And he immediately threw the outlet pass to his teammate, his Guilford teammate, not his all-star teammate, and Henson gladly took the ball and scored.
Yeah, Clay Henson and Sanborn on opposite sides was interesting for that aspect. And at that point, one of the coaches decided, okay, we would just make sure that these guys aren't on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that was how they defended Sanborn. They made sure Clay Henson was in the outlet.
The other thing about that too was not only were the guys who were playing in the game enthusiastic, but the Macon team, the Macon players, the rest of his teammates, Guilford's players, they showed up and they had a great time cheering on their teammates and just watching what I thought was great basketball in general.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen Dustin Mitchell play this season. Never seen Kevin Misavicius play.
It was cool for me to see Misavicius playing in a role that was different. Instead of being the spotlight,
right.
He was kind of not a role player, but just along with everybody else. And he played very well. He shot very well too. So it was kind of cool to see these guys in different roles in a sense.
And so for those of you who didn't watch the broadcast, I thought next year that would be something you want to do, because one of the things we were able to do is first of all. Joe Davis and Dave, who called the game, had a lot of fun calling the game. It's just a fun atmosphere. But we also got to sit down and talk with players on the bench when they weren't in the game. I talked to probably 4 players on each side, and then as the game got close down the stretch, sticking the wireless mic in the team huddles and seeing what was going on. It was just kind of, it's like we tried to do with it with one camera what you would do with any other All-Star game.
Yeah.
You could get a little different view of things.
And you had one coach with Tyler Sanborn not making up his mind where he wants to go, the other coach asking his team what he wants to do, and the team asking who was the coach.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun to see. And, of course, it was a perfect lead-in. Overtime games always are. Perfect lead-in into the championship game. Sorry, a little distracted there. We are on the road traveling back.
That guy tried to cut somebody off?
He didn't try. He did cut the guy off.
Fair enough.
So anyway, just trying to keep this broadcast from being anything but a good one. By the way, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. IM us at hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM. Join us in the chat room or join us on Twitter. Yes, I'm not going to be able to answer your questions right this moment, but I am in the studio listening to this broadcast again, so I will try and answer them.
Right, and so he's got plenty of time to answer them in the chat room or respond to you on Twitter. We just won't be speaking the answers to your question, unless it's by accident.
Exactly. So then the All-Star game, Pat, leads right into what was a terrific championship game. Another real battle between Stevens Point and Williams. We hadn't seen these two face off in the championship game since 2004. And not that you continue where you left off, but man, these teams played absolutely great basketball. I mean, you can't fault them. It was good shooting. It was solid defense. It was a run by one team matched by a run by another. It was strategic. I mean, it was, looking back on it 24 hours later, it was just a good game.
I think I think Mike Maker in his portion of the post-game news conference really kind of summed it up, because you're right. So many things in this game were evenly matched. Both teams shot. Well, I mean, for
48, 29%.
Yeah, and then 41% from downtown.
Yep.
The difference was, I think, the turnovers. Williams was not able to take care of the basketball as well as Stevens Point has. And for Stevens Point, that's been a theme all season. They've been very, very good about taking care of the basketball. And for Williams, I wouldn't. 14 turnovers isn't great, but it's not awful. I mean, you're not going to look at that.
It was what? Two or three in the second half?
It was I think it was 5, but there were a couple. There was 9 in the first half, and then Williams was really good with the basketball for a real long stretch of the second half.
Yep.
And then a couple of them helped fuel the 22-5 run that put Stevens Point over the top. It was nice to see Dan Tillema get back into the flow of a game after having missed so much time with his knee injury and then retweaking his knee. He'd been relatively ineffective since I think it was early January was what Coach Semling was saying after the game. So he came out and hit 3 3-pointers in the second half at I think 15 points. I should have the box score in front of me, shouldn't I? He had 13 of his 15 in the second half, or 11 of his 13 in the second half. 2 points at halftime, and then was lights out for about 2 or 3 minutes during that run. Hit a big 3 from the wing right in front of our position. Hit another one from the corner.
And 2 of them from that corner.
And I think he missed one from that corner, but he hit another one from the other side of the floor. So he was good from all over the place, and he it was probably something that if you're Williams and you have a very limited time to come back and prep for this game after a night game the night before and then an afternoon game, and you may only have 2 or 3 games worth of video on Stevens Point to work with, maybe you don't really realize what he's capable of because he hasn't been able to play to that potential for quite a while this season.
Of course, Matt Moses was steady throughout the game, maybe not pouring in baskets, but certainly steady both on offense and defense for him. Jenkins played terrific. He had a 15-minute spot there maybe where he disappeared a little bit, but he certainly got into that 22-5 run and was terrific. And playing very good basketball. And you also saw a different Williams team than you saw the night before. The night before against Guilford, they're really battling in the inside, trying to isolate and try and keep Sanborn from being a problem, but then shooting the lights out of the building on their other end. I mean, they shot over 50% from both the field and from outside. Then in the championship game, you kind of got to see their inside guys shine a little bit. Winnington was a complete factor off the ball, too, because how many times did you see guys driving the lane? He comes from the weak side, and whether he blocks it or not, he at least alters a couple shots.
Other than Jarrell Harris's shots.
Yeah, Jarrell Harris never got more than about 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah, he went in with no conscience. To talk about Moses, and I'm going to answer a question that I'm sure by now has been in the chat room as to why
if it's not, it's about to be.
Yeah, as to why Matt Moses wasn't on the All-American team. And we certainly did think about and talk about Matt Moses. And, the thing is about this Stevens Point team is it's been so incredibly balanced and all season. And yes, I think we know, and he certainly proved it on Saturday afternoon, that Matt Moses is head above everybody else. I wouldn't say head and shoulders because there's not he's not a standout scorer, but he's from the leadership role and being the guy who in the closing minutes you can absolutely rock solid trust. If you have the ball in his hands and he gets fouled, he's going to go to the free throw line and he's going to make it. So he was clearly the best player on the team. Just in our mind, he wasn't one of the best, one of the 5 best point guards in Division III this season. And to be honest with you, I used to lose a little sleep over that there would be the possibility of a team playing in the title game or even winning the national championship without an All-American on their roster. But I think you can win the national championship without having one of the 5 best players at any position. And that, for the reward for Matt Moses is he had a great weekend in Salem. He's the most outstanding player of the Final Four. He was, on a national championship team. He's got, some hardware in his bag. He's got a piece of the net being cut down. He's off on spring break somewhere having a good time counting Waffle Houses. And to be honest with you, it doesn't bother me. I can understand why Stevens Point fans might not be too thrilled about it, but I think it was the right call. There were certainly a lot of other good point guards in Division III this season also.
Well, as Coach said it, they're a team-oriented group. There is no guy specifically that is their number one in some senses because they are so about being a team. And the best part is every night there could be somebody else. Jenkins, Tillema. There could be other guys who could step up and be that guy. And so congrats to Matt Moses, but tough call. Certainly. If you're wondering why this sounds strange, Pat Coleman and I are on the road.
Hoopsville from the highway.
Up I-81, leaving Salem, or we've left Salem, and working our way back to our homes. This is a little bit of a special Hoopsville. We will be on live, per se, shortly. Hopefully we'll have interviews with coaches. Obviously, as I'm driving up the road, I don't have that confirmed. But we're hoping to hear from Coach Semlin, Coach Fay, maybe even some players. Try and chat with Gordon Mann, and I would love to chat with Bob Quillman, who saw obviously the Final Four from afar. Love to get his take on it as well. If you have any questions for us, email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. You can also IM us at hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM, or join us in the chat room. That's always where most people are chatting it up. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter, which I promise we'll try and do a better job in the off-season of keeping you updated as to what the future is with the show and what else we're doing, covering Division III athletics.
I think Hoopsville from the highway, the theme is going to be reiterated a little bit later, because I understand that
yes.
Bob Semling will probably be joining us from the highway as well today.
Yes, Coach Semling will be driving most likely. He's driving back. He'll most likely be on the road when we chat with him later.
Even though Stevens Point was more than 500 miles and certainly qualified to fly to Salem, he did fly here, but he's driving back with his family.
Yeah, he's with his family, and yes, we will try and chat with him. Coach Fay, I suspect, will be back at her home. It wasn't that far from Bloomington to get back to St. Louis. Pat, anything else that stood out to you from the weekend? I know one thing that I found great was that we saw a lot more coaches from the NABC there who are there to not only support the All-Star Game efforts, but support their own players. I think that was a great way to bring a coach to the game. Did anything stand out to you?
Well, yeah, it was certainly nice to see Jim Hayford from Whitworth, someone who I've exchanged emails and I think even a phone call or two with over the past several years. It was his first trip to Salem. Pat Miller from Whitewater making his first trip to Salem. A bunch of other coaches who we don't normally see there. And normally, for those who aren't familiar with it, the Division III coaches do actually make a pretty good showing in Salem. There are some guys who are there year after year. Bob Schlosser from Elizabethtown, Webb Hatch from Frostburg State, Brett Adams from Stevenson, Mike McGrath from University of Chicago. They show up year in and year out, and they meet and they kind of help set the Division III coaches agenda ahead of the NABC convention, which is always at the D1 Final Four. But it's just nice for them to, for some new people to come out and see, what this kind of camaraderie is all about. It's the D3 men's basketball Final Four isn't quite like the Stag Bowl. It's not the huge Division III tailgating party, literally, that brings fans in from all over the place. But what they do have here is they have coaches in from all over the place. But, talking about fans too, this week, Dave, I thought the fan support was great. It's always nice to see a loud vocal contingent like Wisconsin Stevens Point brought this year, like Hope brings in their years in the Final Four, like Ohio Northern did in 2001, like Illinois Wesleyan has done several years in their trips to Salem. So it was nice to see that in conjunction with fans from Guilford. Williams, I thought, showed up much better and more vocal than they have in Salem in years past. And Randolph-Macon, where were you?
Well, I think they brought some fans. I was a little surprised they were a little lower in numbers than I expected. I expected almost them to sell out their section. And I think that they were certainly taken out of the game early. Yeah. And by the way, Randolph-Macon made one heck of a comeback to try and make that a tight game. They were within 8 points, 2 or 3 possessions late after being down 24 early in the second half. And so I want to formally congratulate the Yellow Jackets for just absolutely representing very well. Not only ODAC, because obviously Guilford represented well as well, but being true to themselves and not giving up in a championship game. Yeah, I expected more fans to be there. That was my surprise. Williams really represented well, I thought, from what I was expecting. Yeah. We know they've struggled to travel in the past. Stevens Point, as always, terrific. Man, their band was great. Yep. Their student body was great. At one point, they probably nearly blew the roof off the building when they roared when the team entered during the semifinals for the beginning of the game. And, of course, Guilford, very good job there, too. So I think it was really good fan support and less tarps on the seats than we normally see.
That's true. I didn't see an attendance number for the championship day. I saw 2,814 for the semifinals, which is about, I think, 600 more than we would usually see. So that was nice. And to your point about Randolph-Macon, we have seen so many times a team get down big to a highly ranked team in Salem and just fold the tents. And I'm not going to name names, but I think you and I could probably name 4 or 5
easily,
just off the top of our heads. Randolph-Macon did a great job, getting back into the game, as you said, representing themselves and representing the ODAC, which had a great season.
Yeah, the ODAC. I mean, 2 teams in the Final Four, 4 teams making the tournament. The ODAC certainly had a stellar season. And Randolph-Macon brings pretty much everybody back, Had a couple seniors, don't get a lot of playing time. Their whole starting lineup returns. They're all juniors. So, to get that experience and to fight back into a game only can help them next season. And the ODAC's going to be tough again next year. Yes, Guilford loses a lot, but Virginia Wesleyan doesn't lose too much. So Randolph-Macon, along with Eastern Mennonite's going to bring back a whole lot. So that's going to be another dogfight in the ODAC. And you never know, like a team like Hamden-Sydney might not rear their heads as well. So congrats to the Yellow Jackets and congrats to the Quakers. I mean, if you look at the Guilford stat line and you look at the way Guilford played that game, they would have won 99% of the games with those stat lines. They shot over 40% from the field. Tyler Sanborn was dominating inside. Yes, Clay Henson had an off night, but he still got his points. They were playing extremely well and very well, I felt, on defense for the most part. Williams shot well over 50%, scored 62 points in the second half with only 14 of them coming on the free throw line. They shot 10 for 14 from beyond the arc. They just found a way you miss 2 of those, it's a completely different ballgame. You go average 8 for 14, it's tied, if not losing the game going into the last minute. So you can't really fault Guilford for much because you don't lose usually when you play as well as Guilford played in the semi.
Yeah, I think that where the difference was in that game was Guilford just wasn't able to get out and defend on the perimeter the way that, for example, the way Stevens Point did the next afternoon.
They over-pursued a little bit.
The thing was that Stevens Point was able to force Williams to abandon that game plan and go a different direction, which I think is partially why Stevens Point won that game. Guilford just wasn't able to get out there and cover all. When you got 4 good 3-point shooters all on the perimeter, and you got a guy like Whittington inside. That's a tough draw defensively. You got to be able to really cover the floor. And there were a lot of times where, Guilford had guys who were out of position. I remember a couple of possessions where it was not just one guy who was shooting an open 3, but there was another guy who was also wide open on the perimeter as well, who could have shot a 3 if he'd gotten the ball.
So at the same time, Blake Schultz hit some big shots in that semifinals with guys right in his face. He was just feeling it. He felt good. He'd get off the top of the pick at the top of the key and hit a shot, even though Henson's right there, and you even had another guy kind of in his presence. So, Williams did extremely well. You can't fault Guilford whatsoever for at least making a heck of a game of it. I mean, we were just hoping the championship game would live up to what that first semifinal did, and it did. I mean, the championship game really did.
And we were talking afterwards about, I might have even been in the post-game show, about the whole package, the 4 games or even the 3 games in the bracket in Salem, and getting trying to remember, another set of Final Four games like that. And I'm not really sure we come up with one necessarily. I remember, there's been some memorable semifinals.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking of Calvin winning on a buzzer beater to beat Franklin and Marshall and then go on and win the championship game the next night in 2000. But I think that this Guilford-Williams semifinal is going to be on the list of those memorable semis too.
Really, you could almost say that Williams played in 2 championship-type games, because that semifinal game was a dogfight right down to the end, and then the championship game was a dogfight right down to the end for Williams. Williams found different ways to play. By the way, Coach Semling talking about, watching tape, didn't realize that Whittington was that good. And Whittington nearly changed the game completely for Williams. You could tell that Stevens Point didn't know what to do with him. I was a little disappointed that Williams didn't kind of go with kind of a double threat inside with Whittington and keeping Gohagan on the other side with him. I think going back and forth with those guys in the post, we didn't see Gohagan very much at all in the second half. It's not like he wasn't playing well. I thought he was playing well. So I don't know if that was a conscious decision to leave him out or it just happened. I do know I heard Coach Maker say that one of the things that he was critical about right after the game was he didn't feel like he subbed enough late in the game and they got tired. There's an element there. You had some guys on the bench who probably could have contributed for you. But all in all, terrific games. And, of course, it comes from a terrific bracket. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, because, I agree we do need to get to a break. But about the bracket, I think that the extra work that the committee put into making this men's bracket a real, true balanced bracket showed up in Salem, and we had great games, and I think that it's just nice even coming from a fan's perspective, and not being someone who's going to cover the games and hoping for decent games from an entertainment and non-boredom standpoint. Even as a fan, you have to be really happy about what the men's basketball committee did in putting this bracket together, and then how it turned out. Absolutely, I agree with you. And we saw at the beginning and thought it could definitely lead to some good stuff in Salem. We saw that result in Salem this weekend. We're going to take a break. If you got any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also IM us at hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM. Join us in the chat room. That's usually where everybody has the most questions, or at least gets the most feedback. But you can also join us on Twitter, especially during the off-season. That is D3Hoopsville on Twitter, or just search for Hoopsville. We're going to take a break and we'll be back with more Hoopsville. And we'll see where we get our coaches slipped in as well. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back after this.
Are you an embarrassment on the dance floor? Do you confuse state capitals and read too many celebrity gossip magazines? Well, if you answered yes, you may have what it takes to adopt a teen from foster care, because teens don't need perfection, they need you. So if you think an MP3 is a computer virus, it's okay. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. For more information, call 1-888-200-4005 or go to adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Who are you?
Who can make you cheer?
And play your fight song?
Who can bring you to your feet?
Or bring you to your knees?
When the game is on the line, who do you want to take the last shot?
NCAA basketball. Who's your team?
All season long, let D3Football.com be your home for all the Division III football action on the road to the Stag Bowl. From interactive blogs and message boards to columns from around the region and around the nation on your favorite teams, nobody covers NCAA Division III better than D3Football.com. As the playoffs approach, get the scoop on who's in and who's out from the experts who picked all 32 teams last year. Don't go anywhere else. Get the info from the source for Division III football at www.d3football.com.
Did you know there's only one radio show dedicated to Division III basketball in the world?
Welcome to the big show.
It's Hoopsville. It's the blood of a champ. You can tune into Hoopsville throughout the season on Sunday and Thursday nights, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, live on your computer. Just go to www.d3hoopsville.com for more information, because if you're a Division III basketball fan, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented thanks to d3hoops.com and in part by the National Association of Basketball Coaches.
Amber Alert, abducted child, African-American girl, 6 years old, suspect wearing blue shirt, black jeans.
Now when an Amber Alert is issued, you can get the same information the authorities get right on your cell phone. Sign up for free at wirelessamberAlerts.org. Think of it, something as simple as a free text message could free an abducted child.
All units Amber Alert canceled. Child recovered safely. Suspect is in custody.
wirelessamberAlerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
NCAA Women's College Basketball. All day, every day, our game. These women can really play. Filling it up, knocking them down, and bringing it home. It's basketball at its purest. For family fun and great entertainment, there's nothing like it. All day, every day, our game. NCAA Women's College Basketball.
Who are you?
What are your team colors?
Who can make you cheer?
Who can bring your family and friends together?
And play your fight song?
Who can bring you to your feet?
Or bring you to your knees?
When the game is on the line, who do you want to take the last shot?
And who do you want to slap high fives, jump up and down, and yell at the top of your lungs with?
There's probably a game near you today. NCAA Basketball. Who's your team?
So, EJ, we've designed you a signature shoe worthy of a 3-time All-American with mad smarts and sick leadership skills. Ta-da!
There are over 380,000 NCAA student athletes.
Yeah, you got your GPA embossed, right?
I love it. And just about all of them will be going pro in something other than sports.
Can I get it in a loafer for casual Fridays? Yes. Yes.
Ever wonder where you can hear the latest Division III basketball news?
Welcome to the big show.
That's Hoopsville, the only show dedicated to Division III basketball in the world. You can tune in to where coaches, players, fans, and even us commentators chat about the week that was and the week that will be. So tune into Hoopsville Sunday nights from 7 until 9 Eastern live on your computer. Or check out the podcast. Because if you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented by D3Hoops.com and broadcast thanks to Counter College Radio. For more information, go to www.d3hoops.com/Hoopsville.
And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting live from the Hoopsville studios. Want to thank Pat Coleman, and hope you enjoyed the road portion of our show earlier on in the program. Pat and I, about a half hour there, driving up I-81, certainly made our lives a little bit easier. So on and so forth. Man, my voice sounds deep, doesn't it? Not sure what that's all about. Settings are okay. Anyway, if you got any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also IM us at hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM. Join us in the chat room or join us on Twitter. All of your options available. We'll certainly try and get your questions answered as we wrap up the season that was in Division III men's and women's basketball. Lots to cover. We actually covered quite a bit there in the first half hour with Pat Coleman and myself on the road on I-81, chatting it up as it were. And certainly we hope to get Gordon Mann. Looks like we're working to get Tim Calderwood on the phone. Hopefully he'll join us to chat about the women's side of things. We do have Coach Fay, and we do have Jamie McFarland lined up to chat with them. McFarland, who we talked to last week, a most outstanding player, so we'll talk to her. And Coach Fay, first title for WashU in 9 seasons. The last one was 2001, and their 5th overall. We'll also talk to Bob Quillman here very shortly. We'll get him on the line. And you know what? I'm going to bring you the Jostens Award winners if we have time. I got a chance to interview both of them. One we talked to last week, Blake Schultz, but we'll talk to him again. And we'll also talk to Hershig out of, I just forgot, Wisconsin, Eau Claire, I believe. So we'll talk to her and them shortly. Not going to waste any more time on the hotline, though, because our good friend Bob Quillman joins us on the line. Bob, how are you, sir?
Dave, how about that crazy, kooky thing where you guys were cruising down the road doing Hoopsville?
Hey,
that
man,
was awesome.
We like to make it as creative as possible sometimes.
You know what it reminded me of is, I don't know if you've ever watched the show Survivor.
Yes.
But, they have the final tribal council, and it's like a tape thing.
Yes.
And then they cut to a scene it's probably months later, and then it's like the live show.
Right.
Where they read, and I felt like it was like that transition. Like right now, you're walking into some studio with a big bucket full of names, and you're going to read them or something.
I have my first vote for Bob. Bob is on the line. So
yeah, I loved Hoopsville from the highway. That was good stuff.
Nice. Thank you. And it was something different. Gave us a little bit of leeway when we got back here in the studios, and it got a chance to get us Pat Coleman on the line. We didn't get a chance to chat with Pat. We wouldn't get a chance to chat with Pat live tonight, so good chance for us to chat with him in the meantime. Hey, you didn't get a chance to get to Salem, which I feel bad for you, only because it was such a terrific weekend of basketball. I knowing you, I'm quite certain you still made efforts to catch the games, so I ask you first for your overall thoughts.
I did. I watched all the games and was really impressed with all of the games. I mean, going into it, we said that this was going to be a great Final Four because just the way the bracket was made, because of the parity around the nation this year, and I was really not surprised by the fact that we had those great games. I left there thinking that the two best teams in the country played for the national championship.
Yep.
That's always a great thing.
Yes.
There's years when we don't get that.
No, like last year.
Right. And this year, I think, of all the games I watched, both in person and on video this year, clearly Stevens Point and Williams, the two best teams. And I left thinking that Guilford was a close third. I guess if I'm doing my final ballot, I go Stevens Point 1, Williams 2, Guilford 3. So I just felt like those three teams made a real strong showing.
Yeah, and you know what? Randolph-Macon certainly was the dark horse there. They struggled a little bit initially, but then they even made it a game. From your point of view, were you watching on video or just listening?
Yeah, I was, both, I guess. But, yeah, I was watching the video.
What was your thoughts from afar of all the games, but specifically the Randolph-Macon game? That game looked like it was getting out of control, 16 minutes left in the second half.
The Randolph-Macon game reminded me a little bit of the Illinois Wesleyan-Stevens Point game. Just in that there was never a doubt that Stevens Point was going to win the game. It was always clear. I left watching Randolph-Macon feeling like that my thought all year of parity in Division III, it probably holds true, and that, again, I think you've got Stevens Point and Williams, clearly the best two teams in the country. You got Guilford kind of in their own little tier, third. But then I think Randolph-Macon fits into a category of really good basketball teams, along with like Eastern Mennonite, Illinois Wesleyan, WashU, Carthage. We could go down the list in this tier and list maybe 15 teams that are all about in that Randolph-Macon category.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of the way we saw this year, is that somehow two teams would emerge, and they're two of the teams that we've talked about all year long, Stevens Point and Williams. Guilford obviously has been in the picture, but it was a great Final Four.
It was absolutely spectacular basketball throughout, and two very different three different very different games. Even how Stevens Point beat Randolph-Macon and how Williams beat Guilford didn't exactly translate on the court on the championship game. They won differently there.
Well, the way Williams played in the second half versus Guilford offensively was just amazing. And you look at Williams' stats for the year offensively, and they are ridiculous. What they shoot from the field, what they shoot from three, their points per possession, it's just off the charts. And then you look at Stevens Point, and I heard your conversation about the All-American team, and I agree 100%. You can win a national championship and not have an All-American.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of team Stevens Point was. I got to see them a week ago. Obviously, Illinois Wesleyan played there in the Elite Eight game.
Right.
And I went into that game thinking, Stevens Point really doesn't have a superstar player.
No.
But then you think, but they have 9 or 10 really good players.
Yeah, who contributed in different ways. I mean, one night it's one guy, one night it's another guy. Jenkins and Moses were the two who consistently over the weekend played well, but Dilemma showed up in the championship game. They had other guys contributing in the semifinal game.
And they kind of remind me of, I guess maybe some of the Worcester teams that have been really great over the years, where they have a player that's deemed to be their best player, but they're just so deep.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Hanover group that advanced to, I think, as far as the Elite Eight a few years back, maybe in 4.05 in there.
Yeah.
Just where you've got tremendous balance and interchangeable parts. Stevens Point was just terribly impressive.
You know, they were, they extended their defense, extended their defense out very nicely. Were allowed to play a little physical, I think. I think the officials allowed a lot of physicality, which it wasn't over the top. They allowed some physical play. It certainly didn't get crazy. And they played pretty good basketball. They rebounded well. They cut down the turnovers. That was the key. They did not turn over the ball very often in that game.
No, and that's just what they do. They play smart basketball, and they do not beat themselves. You have to beat them if you're going to beat them, and it didn't happen this weekend.
Hey, the All-Star game was pretty much a highlight as well. We certainly talked about it in the first half hour. Did you get a chance to watch that one as well?
That I did not. I heard it was great. I read all the posts about it, and I'm sorry I missed it, but it sounded like it was great.
No, it was terrific. It was absolutely terrific. In watching guys who had lost the night before, everyone in the building saw, Clay Henson and Rhett Bonner and Tyler Sanborn practically breaking down on the court, watching their chances of winning a national title kind of evaporate there in the semifinals. But they came out and they were having a great time, Henson and Sanborn, and playing hard, and even playing against each other. Henson got a free three-pointer from Sanborn, even though Sanborn was on the opposite side of the team, or the other team. The outlet pass went to Henson, which for 4 years it has, and Henson hit the three-pointer. And then later on, we didn't talk about it in the first half hour, Henson went for a three-pointer. Actually, no, he drove the lane, put up a floater, and Tyler Sanborn came flying in from the backside, doing his best to swat it. He wanted so badly to block that ball.
The thing I look at it like, it was probably time to try something different than the consolation game. And this comes from Illinois Wesleyan fan, and I think we're the unofficial leader in consolation game victories. So if Illinois Wesleyan fans endorse getting rid of it, then I think that should be a sign that the nation should be ready to move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the consolation game, I've always thought it was nice, but I understand those that think that, it's just kind of a meaningless game. So I'm glad that they tried something new and they can evaluate for down the road what they want to do there.
Yeah, certainly a lot of people, I think, were thrilled with how it turned out, and even the overtime was nice to see. Interesting enough, it went to the free throw line to decide the game. But certainly a great game. Hey, Bob, let's look back at the season a little bit. Obviously, in my opinion, it was a heck of a season. I think it was one of the best we've had from start to finish. A lot of changes coming, but first, your thoughts on the year that was.
Yeah, we went into it kind of wondering, could WashU do it again? Could they reload again, losing another key player? First they lost Roos, and they won without him. And then they lost Nading, and you wondered, can they do it? And it looked for a while like they might have enough. And at the end of the day, though, WashU just wasn't quite where Stevens Point and Williams ended up being. And so then we looked at the rest of the field, and Stevens Point got our attention all season long.
Yes.
They had some really impressive non-conference wins. The funny thing is they're the national champs and they didn't win their conference. What does that tell you about how good the Wisconsin Intercollegiate is? They got swept by Whitewater.
Yeah.
So I know Stevens Point was the Pool A team because they won the tournament, but they did not win the regular season WIAC title. So Stevens Point was a team that was on our radar from the very beginning. We wondered there for a while. They lost some tough games in the league, like the Stout game. You're like, well, should a great team be losing that game? And the way it turns out, that's just the kind of game you lose in a conference like that. And Williams was a team that from the get-go was a top 2 team, right? We looked at them like a powerhouse from really about January 15th on. We all knew about Williams. And then after that, there were all these other teams that, we thought maybe if things line up, and that ended up kind of being the Randolph-Macon team. So it was a great year, and looking back, I think it played out like we thought a little bit, just in that there were a lot of teams that had a chance.
Yeah, it certainly was fun. And, the CCIW we had talked about was a little bit down next year. Pat and I and a bunch of others were chatting about the fact that CCIW next year might be dangerous. The WIAC is always going to be tough. The UAA, not sure what's going to happen there with that. I think it might come down a little bit, though. There is a good, tough Brandeis team. I think when they return their guys, Rochester's going to be 1 year older and more experienced. But other conferences where the Andersons were located, and other teams that made the tournament, those conferences are even getting better.
Well, you've got a lot of programs that have emerged. I think of like the St. Norbert's. That's becoming just a great program. Anderson's not going anywhere in the Midwest region. They're going to be really good. They're building it up nicely. So you're right. The CCIW next year is going to be phenomenal. If you look at Illinois Wesleyan and Carthage, you have 2 top 10 teams there. But then even behind that, you've got Augustana, you've got Wheaton that'll be tough. North Central's got the D3Hoops.com Freshman of the Year or the Rookie of the Year. The WIAC, I mean, Stevens Point, I know Moses is a key player, but that's the only starter they lose, right, is Matt Moses.
Yes, off the top of my head.
Yeah, and so
you have Jenkins back. Yeah, I mean, Stevens Point loses a few guys, but they don't. I mean, they lose Moses, yes, but it's not like they lose a ton. They don't lose. It's not like Guilford losing the 3-headed monster.
No, they've got. I mean, Stevens Point has 4 starters back, and I didn't think he played a great championship game, but I love, and I don't know his name. I just know he's little number 10. They're a little backup point guard.
Tim Lawrence.
Yeah,
that's Randolph Macon. I'm sorry.
Number 10 for Stevens
Hank.
Point.
Yeah, Jenkins. Yeah, he needs to mature a little bit.
See, but if you would have seen him the weekend before at the sectional, every Illinois Wesleyan fan that left that sectional, it's amazing how to a person we'd be talking about the game afterward. They'd be like, how good is number 10 going to be?
Wow.
And now, he did not have a good national championship game. He was a little out of control.
No.
But I'll tell you what, that little kid is going to be a fantastic point guard when he figures it out, and that could be as soon as next year. So Stevens Point's going to be a powerhouse next year.
He unfortunately didn't learn from his own mistakes. There was a sequence where he went driving towards the baseline on the far end of the court, and I think he saw Troy Whittington coming over, and he stopped, and he pulled out. And I said on the air, I'm like, hey, great job there. He recognized that the big guy was moving, and that was a bad idea. Well, next trip down the court, it seemed, he went for the drive anyway, and Whittington swatted it into the seats. And then in the second half, he went and did the exact same thing 2 more times, and Whittington swatted it into the seats. And I was like, he hasn't figured this one out yet. I wish he would calm down and just run the offense a little bit here.
He's a freshman, and that's most freshmen are playing on the JV team, or they're driving themselves to Salem, Virginia, because they're not on the roster. But,
right, exactly.
I think you put that kid in the starting lineup, and by about January 1st next year, I think he'll be a really good player.
No, you have a point. Yeah, he's got the potential. Certainly, he's listed 5'10", by the way. I'd give him 5'8". I think they're being generous with a couple inches there, but and Jared,
he's a little guy. He's little.
And Jared Jenkins comes back. Jared Jenkins was certainly impressive. So Stevens Point's got a pretty solid unit coming back. We'll see how they can survive the WIAC. Any of your final thoughts before we let you go? Any other thoughts you had on the season that was or is coming?
Yeah, I would say as far as next year, it should be where the CCIW we felt was just a little bit in rebuilding mode. Next year, the CCIW should be back to a real powerhouse. So that's what I look forward to from my neck of the woods next year. I'll also add that I got a chance to watch the women's national championship game, and that looked like a phenomenal atmosphere at the Shirk Center. It was packed. You had a ton of Hope fans, a ton of WashU fans. So I'm interested to get maybe Gordon Mann or Tim's impressions of how it was to be there, because it looked like a really great setting there at the Shirk Center. It looked like it was, I think they listed the crowd at 2,300.
Oh, good.
And it was rocking. I mean, on TV, it just looked packed. So I just thought two great national championship games. It turned out to be just a great weekend.
Yeah, 2,800 in the semifinals, I know, for the men's tournament. So good numbers, I think, across the board for sure. By the way, totally forgot to ask you, Player of the Year, Stevie Jurkovic, your thoughts?
Yeah, from my end, Dave, he's the best player that I saw this year, and I mean, number 2 isn't even really that close. I mean, and I've seen Wallace and I've seen Thompson and I've seen Sanborn play on video several times. It's just Jurikovic is the player in Division III that opposing coaches have to deal with and game plan for the most. He just absolutely dominates a basketball game, and he's just a 6'3" skinny little kid.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I mean, I've gone from thinking that, a few years ago I thought, well, he could play low D1. And then this year I started saying, well, he could play mid-major easily. I'm starting to think, and I'm pretty confident about this, that if you put him on a D1 major roster like a Big Ten team like Wisconsin, let's say, I think he could hold his own as a pure point guard at a major D1 level. And some people disagree with that, but I tell you, he is very deservingly the player of the year, and he will be a monster next year for Carthage. I think they have a chance to win it all next year, so we'll see.
Yeah, Carthage is going to be a good team next year. They're certainly one to watch. Hey, Bob, thanks so much, as always, for a terrific help this whole season. I certainly appreciate it. Missed you in Salem, obviously, but we'll work on getting you back there.
Yeah, I hope to be back next year. So another great season on Hoopsville, Dave. Thanks for all you do in running this, and we'll talk to you next season.
Definitely. Hey, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you in the off season anyway.
All right, see you, Dave.
All right, Bob, take care. Bob Quillman joining us on the Hoopsville hotline. Appreciate him doing that and joining us and chatting with us. You got any questions for us? Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can IM us at Hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM. That is Hoopsville2000. Sorry for the focus, by the way. My camera doesn't seem to want to focus very well tonight. We'll work on that maybe in a little bit. You can also join us in the chat room. There's a few people in there. It's kind of quiet. Come on, people. It's the end of the season. Chat it up. You're not going to get another chance to do this. Or you can join us on Twitter. We're twittering there as well. Twitter in there as well. We're going to take a very quick break. I know we got the next set of guests lined up from the national champ, WashU Bears. We'll talk to them in just a few minutes. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. And we will be back in just a few minutes.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Who are you?
What are your team colors?
Who can make you cheer?
Who can bring your family and friends together?
And play your fight song?
Who can bring you to your feet?
Or bring you to your knees?
When the game is on the line, who do you want to take the last shot?
And who do you want to slap high fives, jump up and down, and yell at the top of your lungs with?
There's probably a game near you today. NCAA basketball. Who's your team?
Did you know Division III basketball has a radio show completely dedicated to them every week?
Welcome to the big show.
Well, they do.
In the blood of a champ.
You can tune into Hoopsville every Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, live on your computer. Just go to d3hoops.com and click on the Hoopsville link for more information. Because if you're a Division III basketball fan, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented thanks to Goucher College Radio and d3hoops.com.
NCAA Women's College Basketball. All day, every day, our game. These women can really play. Filling it up, knocking them down, and bringing it home. It's basketball at its purest. For family fun and great entertainment, there's nothing like it. All day, every day, our game. NCAA Women's College Basketball.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, folks. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting out of the Hoopsville studios. If you have any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also IM us at Hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM, or join us in the chat room. We would love to hear from you there as well. Or on Twitter at D3Hoopsville. That's D3Hoopsville. I'm going to switch back to the women's side of things, and I want to congratulate the WashU Bears. 29-2 on the season and the new national champions. And we're going to start off our coverage with Jamie McFarland, who joins us on the show, as she did last week. Jamie, first and foremost, congratulations on a national title.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm still on cloud 9.
I can only imagine. It's had barely been 24 hours. I realize. I know this was something we didn't touch on last year or last week. You know, this was a decision consciously to come back and play, considering the fact your senior year technically was last year. You made it to the championship game. I was reading a bit of Gordon's article that he wrote on it all. I can only imagine you're thrilled that you came back.
I am. Even without the championship, I mean, the run was great, and it had exceeded my expectations. And then really my dreams came true when that final buzzer had sounded.
Oh, I can only imagine that's like celebrating so close to home too. You had tons of fans there.
Yeah, it was nice. It was great. People from St. Louis, obviously flying in from all over because WashU does draw from a lot of different places. And then, yeah, the fan buses were great. The Bomb Squad, which is our, the fraternity brothers, they came out and supported us. And then the men's team, they were all dressed in some retro basketball gear and cheering on hard. So overall, while we didn't outnumber the Hope fans, we were quite loud filling that church center.
Yeah, it certainly sounded it, certainly looked it. Some fans thought that you guys definitely had the Bomb Squad basically made it a somewhat home game for you. Did it feel a little bit like home?
They did. It felt a little bit like home. They started singing our opening song instead of it playing over the speaker system, and so it felt just like home. Hope started cheering, "It's our home game" or something like that. It's our home court. To respond, but it felt good. There's definitely a lot of excitement.
Obviously, you're also most outstanding player for the tournament. Let's just look at your final two games. Against Amherst, 19 points, 14 total rebounds, along with 3 assists, a block, and a steal. Then you go up with 14 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists in the championship game. You certainly kind of just kept the pedal down and played the style of basketball that's been successful for you, not only this year, but for your career. Yeah,
I think the rebounds were key in those games. Amherst came out with their great bigs, and they were controlling the paint in the first half and most of the second. And then obviously battling Snickers. I mean, she's definitely is a player of the year caliber player, and she showed it. And so battling her inside was quite a game. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the Amherst game real quick. Overtime to get past that one.
Both teams battling it out. You guys scored 10 points. Basically, you were down 10 at the half. Scored 10 points in a widely scored second half. Let's just tell everybody it was 28-18 at the end of first, 46-36 in the second half to tie the game. Just curious, what was the mentality in that second half?
Knowing how badly we played in that first half offensively, I mean, 18 points, but giving it 28, you double that. That's 56. That's about our average. So defensively, we were doing some good things, but offensively, we were a mess. So knowing that if we had just put together a good 4 minutes of basketball and using those TV timeouts as breaks from the game and putting that together, that we knew that we were close enough to make a good run.
Well, then in the second half, absolutely destroyed Amherst. 12-0 run, I believe, to start, 22-11 total to win 86-75. Did it feel like Amherst had just run out of gas?
A little bit. A couple of their players were in foul trouble, and we were going pedal to metal. We'd gotten a lot of stops, and then we went to our scores. I was leading the score with 19, but there was 3 of us with 19. And so we all just decided to make key shots, and players make plays in those situations. So we got some big stops, and people stepped up and scored.
Yeah, it was certainly a well-earned win to get on to the game against Hope, and lots of people looked at that game against Hope and thought, geez, this is going to be a battle, and maybe Hope can get the advantage. Certainly they've fought their way to get there. Of course, WashU hasn't won a title since 2001 for such a storied program, and I say hasn't won one since 2001. I realize some teams have only won one or none at all, but for a program that had won 4 straight and were pretty much unbeatable for many years, it kind of seemed weird that WashU women hadn't won a title. And what was a battle against Hope like?
Oh, it was great. The intensity was great. Defensively, we both run similar systems, and Coach really just talked about just making sure that we handled their pressure. That it was intense, and then we executed offensively. I think that was critical. That although it was low scoring in the first half, in the second half we were able to break it open a little bit and stay with them. And then defense, we made some key stops. I mean, I tried to make Snickers work for each of her possessions, and my teammates did a great job with our double teams. And so defensively, we just stuck to what we've been doing the whole season, and it paid off.
Very, very impressive again to win the title. Now, it's almost like, does it feel like everything's been accomplished now, that you can walk away from the game at least collegiately knowing you did what you wanted to do from the get-go?
Yes, definitely. My aunt, I just talked to her, and she told me, she's like, I don't know if you would have lost. I don't know if you happened at your MBA graduation. And it's sort of true. I mean, I'm right now, and it all fell into place, and all the hard work that not only I put in with my teammates and the staff surrounding us. It's going to be great when we put that banner up in the field house.
Curious, what's the future for you?
Well, soon probably a couple weeks, I'll be looking for an agent and seeing if I can play overseas, and also be applying to some assistant coaching positions to see what falls into place.
Do you have any ideas overseas what might be an option for you?
No. Previously, Tasha Rogers had played in Denmark, and I have a couple other connections over in Europe. But I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I speak Spanish pretty well, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, you can get fluent in a native tongue if you're immersed in it. That's for sure.
Yes, that's right.
And you're graduating this year with your extra degree, or are you going to continue to work on that in the years to come?
No, I'm actually finished with all my classes. I'll be walking in May with my MBA, my Master's in Business.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit quickly about the celebrations.
About
the clean version.
No, it was great. It was actually funny. We actually Rochester was in our hotel, and we had a little celebration at them too. It was a lot of conference love, and it was just a fun time. We had a great time, and we look forward to talking to our athletic director, Mr. Shale, so we can get fitted for a ring.
Yeah, the ring is important. You need to get that thing put on there. I can't blame you at all. By the way, what was the reaction from the bomb squad? Did they bring a lot of powder this time? They did last year to the men's tournament.
I didn't see the LeBron James show this time, but they did. We let one of the representatives cut down the net, and they did
cool.
They did the John Wall pose when they were cutting down the net. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's what they did when they cut down the second net. So their support was awesome.
That's cool. Well, at least that's a nice way to reach out to your fans.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Great. Hey, Jamie, I'll let you go. Thanks so much for joining us once again this week. Congratulations on the national title. That's certainly impressive. And most outstanding player, though. I think that one was a shoo-in. The way you played. Certainly impressive against everybody. Congratulations. You know this from last week. I always give the guest the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share now that we're wrapping up the season?
Yeah, just congratulations to all those Final Four teams, and thanks to the Washington community, and congratulations to my teammates and the staff for putting together a great season.
Very good. Hey, congratulations again, Jamie. Good luck in the future. Let us know if you end up scoring a team somewhere down the road, especially overseas. We'd love to hear from you and chat about it as well.
All right, we'll do. Thanks very much.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
Bye. Jamie McFarland joining us from WashU, the national champs in women's basketball. We're going to take another break. Coach Fay is going to join us here in just a couple of minutes as well. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
Daddy, I'm only 3 years old, but when you look at me, I could see the wheels turning. You're dreaming about what am I going to be when I grow up? A Major League first baseman? Maybe a point guard for the national championship team? Or the winner of the Heisman Trophy.
The odds of a child becoming a professional athlete? 1 in 16,000. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. You know the odds of autism. Now learn some of the signs. No big smiles or other joyful expressions by 6 months. No back and forth sharing of sounds or facial expressions by 9 months. And no babbling by 12 months. To learn more of the signs and more about autism, visit autismspeaks.org.
So, Dad, let's keep dreaming the impossible while looking out for the possible, okay?
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Who are you?
Who can make you cheer?
And play your fight song?
Who can bring you to your feet?
Or bring you to your knees?
When the game is on the line, who do you want to take the last shot?
NCAA basketball. Who's your team?
Are you an embarrassment on the dance floor? Do you confuse state capitals and read too many celebrity gossip magazines? Well, if you answered yes, you may have what it takes to adopt a teen from foster care, because teens don't need perfection, they need you. So if you think an MP3 is a computer virus, it's okay. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. For more information, call 1-888-200-4005 or go to adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
All season long, let D3Football.com be your home for all the Division III football action on the road to the Stag Bowl. From interactive blogs and message boards to columns from around the region and around the nation on your favorite teams, nobody covers NCAA Division III better than D3Football.com. As the playoffs approach, get the scoop on who's in and who's out from the experts who picked all 32 teams last year. Don't go anywhere else. Get the info from the source for Division III football at www.D3Football.com.
Did you know there's only one radio show dedicated to Division III basketball in the world?
Welcome to the big show.
It's Hoopsville.
It's the blood of a champ.
You can tune into Hoopsville throughout the season on Sunday and Thursday nights starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, live on your computer. Just go to www.d3hoopsville.com for more information, because if you're a Division III basketball fan, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented thanks to d3hoops.com and in part by the National Association of Basketball Coaches.
So, EJ, we've designed you a signature shoe worthy of a 3-time All-American with mad smarts and sick leadership skills. Ta-da!
There are over 380,000 NCAA student athletes.
Yeah, you got your GPA in Boston, right?
I love it. And just about all of them will be going pro in something other than sports.
Can I get it in a loafer for casual Fridays? Yes. Yes.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting out of the Hoopsville studios. Certainly appreciate everybody joining us. If you have any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also IM us at hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM. Or join us in the chat room. We'll love to chat with you there. There's a few of you in there, so we certainly appreciate that. You can join us on Twitter as well. I promise in the offseason we'll do a better job of keeping up with that. And giving you updates as to what we're doing and how you can help us, etc., etc. Lots to cover. Again, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Join us in the chat room or join us in the wherever you want to join us, actually. There's lots of choices. I mean, it's the end of the season. Yeah, I'm sure you guys can figure it out by now. We're talking women's basketball and the national championship for the WashU Bears, and joining us now on the line is their head coach, Coach Fay. Coach, congratulations on a 5th national title.
Thank you very much. It was fun.
Oh, I bet it was fun, though certainly not easy. I know that, talking to Jamie McFarland earlier, or just a few minutes ago. First and foremost, the question I've got to ask is, was there ever a doubt in your mind you might get that title again since 2001? The battles had been so tough.
You know, I think the more I went away from that 2001 title, I realized how so much has to happen. So many things have to happen right. You got to have a little luck. The ball has to bounce your way. There can be some very, very good teams that just don't have those things all fall in place. And so it's very special, and you kind of appreciate all those things that have to come into play.
You've kind of battled a couple of those teams this year. One of them, Amherst, who came in this time undefeated and still couldn't get past your Bears. And then you took on Hope, a team everyone's waiting to win a national title and still hasn't done it in a few years, and defeat them in the national title game. Did you feel like you kind of completed what you guys nearly completed last year, or left undone, I should say?
I think last year had a huge impact on the finishing the job this year. The kids were very, very focused. We'd come in second the last 2 out of 3 years, and sometimes the coach, we all can talk about, we're very proud of those, but there was a resilience and a different type of focus that I think we learned from those 2 experiences, and it really helped us down that stretch. We were a lot of trouble against Amherst on Friday night, and I'm just really glad we got to overtime. We were able to get to that point to overtake him then.
You got an incredible player in Jamie McFarland, most outstanding player. Before we get to the rest of the team, what's it been like to have her on your squad? Technically for 5 years, obviously she had a redshirt year, but what's it been like to have her on your team?
Just such an explosive player. Her, not only I guess sometimes I see her get a rebound. It's an amazing thing to watch. Just hitting key shots. And she's got a high basketball IQ, which really helps us on the court. I'm very fortunate. You have to have some special kids to do this, and that she's definitely a special.
Came back after last year's near miss. You had to have a bit of a smile on your face when someone like that comes back into your program for one more year.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I didn't have any problem her coming back. I mean, she had to make some decisions. Because her class did graduate. It is a tough decision when you know your classmates and the people you came in with. So when she did finally make that decision, I was extremely happy. I know her teammates were, and I'm glad we were able to finish it out like this.
The rest of the team, tell us a little bit about them and how they helped contribute to the effort.
Well, the other three seniors on the team, Stacy Neese, Janice Evans, and Zoe Unruh, I mean, those were the core kids that led this group. I think the trademark of it was, though, that different kids at different times throughout this run and throughout the season stepped up. Playing George Fox, Claire Shaper-Cutter came off the bench and I think had 16 points because we were having a little trouble against that wonderful zone of theirs. So there was just a lot of key players at different times that made huge contributions, and I think that's what made it special. You really couldn't stop one kid, and different kids stepped up.
You certainly played a lot of players this year. You had some battles. That semifinal game, we were talking to Jamie about it. Amherst has got you by 10, and you've only put up 18 points in the first half. Curious what you told your team at halftime to kind of have them explode out of the gates in the second half and even into overtime.
Well, I think we have to give credit to Amherst. When they started that game, their intensity and defensive intensity was high, and they were playing at a high level. And I think that they did a lot to control that first half. Basically at halftime, you have to settle in, and start taking these. Our kind of a theme at this postseason was trying to take possession by possession, and not get caught up in, because those games can start getting big, and it's hard not to go, God, in one more game we could be in a national championship game. So we just we try to settle down and execute a little bit better. I thought defensively we did not come out in the way that we wanted to, and I really think that contributed. We changed defense a little bit, got a little pressure, try to change the momentum because Amherst was really in control of the game for the majority of it.
And then it looked in overtime like Amherst just couldn't compete anymore. That the overtime was almost too much.
Well, they're competitors. What happens? The team hits a couple. We hit our opening three to start the overtime. Honestly, I thought that was pivotal. I looked at Zoe and I said, we had a certain play set up. And when you turn to your senior and you say, hey, you want to hit the first three out of overtime, and she was like, want it. And that's pretty neat when you can look at a kid. And when she hit that, I just felt like, okay, there's a momentum that we needed to swing the other way.
And then you get the game that almost a dream game, you could say, for many people, and it's Hope versus WashU, two teams that have been synonymous with top of the rankings and certainly favorites to win a title over the last few years. And this time it's not at Hope's court. I know they wanted that the last couple of years, but what was it like going into that championship game?
Well, you pretty much hit it on the nail. Hope is an outstanding program. Brian Morehouse does an incredible job there. They're very talented with stickers inside. I knew we had our hands full. We had to come up with the defensive scheme quick. Fortunately, we'd worked on something in the past week covering a big kid with George Fox, so we tried to kind of resorted to that scheme. Kids put it in place. I think that game could have gone, as well as games could have gone either way, but we had a few more shots. And I was really proud that the kids were able to turn that, at least the defensive plan, that quickly around.
It was interesting, by the way. Sean Wallace, who was at Salem for the fourth straight year, this time for the All-Star game, kept coming up to us asking for score updates during the semifinal game, and then for some reason thought you guys were playing the championship game in the morning, because in the All-Star game he asked for a score update. What's in the support been like from, obviously the men's team, you guys are so close with them, but from everybody else?
It's been, I'd say, the support, and that gym on Saturday was electric. From the Hope had an incredible crowd. WashU is so proud of our fans, especially against the Amherst game. They never gave up on us. The support between the two teams it's true. It's blue. They know each other. They travel each other in the UAA. A couple years ago, when we got knocked out early, our whole team went down to Salem and cheered our guys on to a national championship. And they did that for us this past week, and there's several of the guys there. And that's got to be hard because they want to be playing too, as we did want to be playing last couple of years. But I think it's a credit to the real true friendships that those teams have.
Talking to Coach Nancy Fay, a 5-time national champ with the WashU Bears women's basketball program, winning another title this most recently against Hope College in the title game in Bloomington. Final score was 65-59. Got any questions for us? Email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville@d3hoops.com. IM us at Hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM, or join us in the chat room. You can also join us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville. Coach, you do lose a lot. You mentioned 3 contributors and seniors will be walking out the door at the end of the scholastic year. How do you look for next year? How do you rebuild?
Well, I want to enjoy this right now.
I can understand that.
I'm going to take a breath on that. We have a lot of kids that have had to play roles this past year that I think are very excited about the opportunity to step up. The competition and the level of this run, we're very well aware of how competitive. We played a lot of young teams that were very talented that did not have a lot of seniors. So I'm well aware of that, but we'll tackle that. But I think there's kids that are looking forward to an expanded role, and we're excited to look at that.
The other question I'd love to ask you is, everyone's got their eye on the UConn women's program, and they keep talking about the records that they are breaking and the run to undefeated records and all that stuff. And they keep talking about how they set a record. Everyone in Division III knows you own the big record of 81 straight games. Any fearful you might lose it to those Huskies?
Well, if it happens, it happens. Obviously, they're having an incredible run. I have been watching it. I'm not sure if they have enough to get it this year, but that's why they say records are meant to be broken. So, we'll have to see what happens.
You'll just have to rattle off one of your own again.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'd love to, but I think the parity in women's Division III basketball is here to stay.
Well, on top of that, Coach, is there any? You win one here. The last one was an 0-1, and it was an end of 4 straight national titles. Is there? You talk about the parity. Any chance we ever see that, whether it's from your program or another, that they get a run of 4, maybe a run of 3, even 2?
I'm sure it's there's obviously chances for anything, but I really, in my opinion, from watching the 24 years of Division III women's basketball, our first round game against Maryville, we were down 5 or 10 minutes to go, and we had a battle that team. And I can mention Mount Union and George Fox and Thomas one of the teams. I really felt that I thought the championships games was exciting. These games are close, and I think that's just really healthy for Division III. So, if it happens, that's great, but that's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, if you count the men, WashU has won 3 straight national titles, so we can at least put it in that hat. And if you count you guys all the way back to '98, that's 7 titles in about 12 years. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, we're trying. But we understand. I think that, like I said, there's a ball bounce here, a shot made there, and it goes one direction or the other. So. We'll keep striving for that, but we understand that too.
Certainly. Hey, congratulations again on a terrific season, another national title. Certainly a hard-fought one and very well done. As always, we give the coach the final word on the show, and being it's the final show of the season, you get the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Well, I tell you, WashU is real proud of having the opportunity to one more. I want to shout out to Hope College. That was a great program. and well-coached team, and I think it was a great Division III tournament.
Very good. Hey, Coach Fay, congratulations. Good luck, and we'll talk to you next season.
Sounds good.
All right. Coach Fay joining us from the 5-time national champ Wash U Bears. Certainly impressive, to say the least, that they got that accomplished against a very good Hope squad, a very good Amherst squad. Handing Amherst their first loss. By the way, Amherst only has one loss. I believe they won the consolation game against Rochester. The one thing I forgot to ask her, actually, now I think about it, was what about an all-star game for the WBCA? Something to keep in mind. Hey, we're going to take a break. On the other side, either Tim Calderwood will get on the line. We'll see if we can get him up. Or we'll talk to the 2 Jostens Award winners. I talked to them in Salem, and we got them on video, so hopefully you'll get a chance to see that. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. If you have any questions for us, email us at Hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. That's Hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. IM us at Hoopsville2000 on your AOL IM, or join us in the chat room. Any way you want to do it, we'd love to chat with you. We'll be back after this.
Amber Alert, abducted child, African-American girl, 6 years old, suspect wearing blue shirt, black jeans.
Now when an Amber Alert is issued, you can get the same information the authorities get right on your cell phone. Sign up for free at wirelesamberalerts.org. Think of it, something as simple as a free text message could free an abducted child.
All units Amber Alert canceled. Child recovered safely. Suspect is in custody.
wirelesamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Who are you?
What are your team colors?
Who can make you cheer?
Who can bring your family and friends together?
And play your fight song?
Who can bring you to your feet?
Or bring you to your knees?
When the game is on the line, who do you want to take the last shot?
And who do you want to slap high fives, jump up and down, and yell at the top of your lungs with?
There's probably a game near you today. NCAA basketball. Who's your team?
Ever wonder where you can hear the latest Division III basketball news?
Welcome to the big show.
That's Hoopsville, the only show dedicated to Division III basketball in the world. You can tune in to where coaches, players, fans, and even us commentators chat about the week that was and the week that will be. So tune into Hoopsville Sunday nights from 7 until 9 Eastern live on your computer, or check out the podcast. Because if you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented by D3Hoops.com and broadcast thanks to Goucher College Radio. For more information, go to www.D3Hoops.com/Hoopsville. We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
With me, Blake Schultz, Williams College East, and Jostens Award winner. First off, congratulations on one heck of a prestigious award.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Obviously, it's a combination, not only what you do on the court, but really what you're doing off the court as well. And, you know, it's considered one of the best awards, especially in Division III. So, your thoughts on being, named?
Well, I'm very excited to be named. It's really an honor. Like I said earlier, Mike McHugh, the first guy who won it, is also a Williams grad, and I've looked up to him since I've been in school, so it's great to kind of follow in his footsteps in that. And then, really, it's the effort of a lot of people, not just myself. Wouldn't be here without the help, obviously, of my team, community, coaches, parents, everyone. So I'm really excited, but didn't do it on my own.
3.29 GPA in economics and pre-med. Obviously, not taking the easy road when it comes to academics, especially you're at a tough institution that is Williams. Tell us a little bit about the academics that you have gone through in 4 years.
Well, I got an A in my first econ class. I thought it'd be a good major, but
Whoops.
They tricked me. They tricked me. But yeah, it's definitely been challenging. But I think I've learned a lot, and really learned a lot about hard work and time management. And I think it's pay off in the end, hopefully.
What are the plans with this academic background?
Well, right now I'm still kind of figuring out what I'll do next year, I guess. I'm deciding about an offer for Teach for America, which I'm very excited about. Potentially playing basketball and eventually med school.
Certainly community service is part of the Williams life, and certainly in everybody's life. Tell us a little bit about how that played a role too.
You know, I think I've been given so many opportunities from other people and been helped out so much. I think it's only right to try to help some other people out as well. I think I've been given a lot of opportunities at Williams. People, you know, in the basketball program who come before me, you know, kind of paved the way, and I think it's been a lot of fun.
Obviously, the academics coupled with the basketball makes for a challenging life. How were you able to balance the 4 years of college, not only on this tough economics and pre-med, on top of playing basketball, which is always in the middle of the season? How were you able to kind of put those two together and succeed?
A lot of time in the gym and a lot of time in the library, I guess. I mean, I got great friends, great family, kind of keep me balanced and on top of my things. So, you know, it's been a lot of hard work, but I'm excited that I've done it, and I think I've really learned a lot.
Obviously, on the floor, you've been very successful, helping the East get back here to Salem for the Final Four. Tell us a little bit about your career, what you have thought of when you look back at your 4 years so far at Williams.
And try not to think about looking back too much yet, but you know, I think the first thing I think about is the guys on the team. I've played with a whole bunch of guys the last couple of years, and I'm still in contact with pretty much all of them. And you know, before and after games in the summer, you know, guys are always kind of reaching out, and I think that's a great part of our program is the friendships that we build and how everyone's kind of sticks together. And so developing those relationships the last 4 years has been awesome. And on the court, obviously, you know, we've had our ups and downs. Freshman year, we won the NESCAC tournament at Amherst, which was awesome. And then to get back to that same point after transitioning to a new coach with Coach Maker, this year at home was an unbelievable experience, and obviously this run. So it's really been exciting, a lot of hard work, but it's starting to pay off.
You take the honors on the basketball court, you take the chance of being here at the Final Four, NESCAC titles, you know, all region teams, all conference teams. Then you add the Jostens Award on top of it. Where does the Jostens Award line up with everything else?
Well, the Jostens is obviously an unbelievable award. It's very prestigious, and I'm very excited to get it. But you know, I think being here with my teammates, you can't beat that. You know, having all these guys here at the Lodge today, and just hanging out with them tonight and tomorrow, you know, that's what I'm really going to remember for the rest of my life.
Well, congratulations and good luck, and good luck in your career as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Blake Schultz, Williams College and Jostens Award winner. With me, Blake Schultz, Williams College East and Jostens Award winner. First off, congratulations on one heck of a prestigious award.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Obviously, it's a common.
Did you want a break?
Who are you?
What are your team colors?
Who can make you cheer?
Who can bring your family and friends together?
And play your fight song?
Who can bring you to your feet?
Or bring you to your knees?
When the game is on the line, who do you want to take the last shot?
And who do you want to slap high fives, jump up and down, and yell at the top of your lungs with?
There's probably a game near you today. NCAA basketball. Who's your team?
Did you know Division III basketball has a radio show completely dedicated to them every week?
Welcome to the big show.
Well, they do. You can tune into Hoopsville every Sunday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, live on your computer. Just go to d3hoops.com and click on the Hoopsville link for more information. Because if you're a Division III basketball fan, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented thanks to Goucher College Radio and d3hoops.com.
Is a very big honor for me and for my university, and I'm very proud. And you know, it's kind of a combination of everything. And to be that top female student athlete, I can't put it into words. You know, I'm just ecstatic about it, and I'm very honored. And I've had so many people in my life who have been influential and done so much to help me get here. So I'm very grateful and had a lot of fun.
Division III, it's all about student athlete.
It really is.
Obviously,
it really
you know
is.
that.
Yep.
3.9 plus GPA. Also stand out on the court for your team. The difficulty of balancing that, though, I'm sure has been a challenge since you walked in, especially with a 3.9 plus. What was kind of your secret to kind of balance the two, especially when your basketball season's right in the middle of the season?
Yeah, exactly. And basketball in Division III is all year round. You know, I mean, we're playing all the time, and And it's just a time management thing, and I kind of just got used to it. And it started in high school. You're playing basketball and playing sports all year round, and you just gotta make time for your studies, and that's just sit down and do your work and get it done. So that's what I did.
Hotel, restaurant, tourism management, or major. Certainly some people would say a fun major.
It really is, and Stout does a great job of it. I mean, they're one of the top 5 in the nation for H&T, and my professors and my classes. It's been so much fun. So yeah.
What is your plans to use? You got 3 options there.
Yeah.
What do you think you'll do with it down the road?
Definitely be in the restaurants. I've always had a passion for food, and I've loved cooking it, making it, and I love people and being around people. So. I'll definitely end up in the restaurant business somewhere.
Throw a few elbows.
Yeah.
Tough business.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a lot of work, but I love that high intensity, and I think it kind of comes with playing athletics and then transitioning to that. It's all the time and all over the place, the restaurant business is, so a lot of long hours, but I'll have fun.
Let's talk about your career quickly. 4 years, certainly a standout on the court, as we mentioned. What's it been like to play? And really, it's been successful.
Yes,
your thought on it?
Stout has been such a great fit for me, and I've had so much fun, my coaches and my teammates, and I couldn't have asked for just a better experience at college and a better experience in basketball, and I've had a lot of people to thank for my successes, and it's been a ride. It's been a great ride.
How difficult is it going to be to step away from the game in a sense? I mean, WNBA does exist. But
I know, and I've thought about overseas, and I don't know. We'll see. That's still in the back of my head, but.
Tourism and an overseas.
Yep, there you go. But it has been a transition, an interesting transition even so far, and just it's been my passion and my love for how many years now, and just to kind of stop abruptly, and it doesn't even seem real that it's over yet, but it'll sink in. But hopefully I'll continue in basketball. I know it'll be part of my life always. So.
Well, congratulations
Thank
once
you very
again
much.
on the prestigious honor,
Thank you.
And good luck in your future for the short.
Thank you.
Julia Hersig, Jostens Award winner.
Are you an embarrassment on the dance floor? Do you confuse state capitals and read too many celebrity gossip magazines? Well, if you answered yes, you may have what it takes to adopt a teen from foster care, because teens don't need perfection, they need you. So if you think an MP3 is a computer virus, it's okay. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. For more information, call 1-888-200-4005 or go to adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
All season long, let D3Football.com be your home for all the Division III football action on the road to the Stag Bowl. From interactive blogs and message boards to columns from around the region and around the nation on your favorite teams, nobody covers NCAA Division III better than D3Football.com. As the playoffs approach, get the scoop on who's in and who's out from the experts who picked all 32 teams last year. Don't go anywhere else. Get the info from the source for Division III football at www.D3Football.com.
Did you know there's only one radio show dedicated to Division III basketball in the world?
Welcome to the big show.
It's Hoopsville.
It's the blood of a champ.
You can tune into Hoopsville throughout the season on Sunday and Thursday nights, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, live on your computer. Just go to www.d3hoopsville.com for more information, because if you're a Division III basketball fan, you've got to listen to Hoopsville. Hoopsville is presented thanks to d3hoops.com and in part by the National Association of Basketball Coaches.
Amber Alert, abducted child, African-American girl, 6 years old. Suspect wearing blue shirt, black jeans.
Now when an Amber Alert is issued, you can get the same information the authorities get right on your cell phone. Sign up for free at wirelesamberalerts.org. Think of it, something as simple as a free text message could free an abducted child.
All units Amber Alert canceled. Child recovered safely. Suspect is in custody.
wirelesamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting out of the Hoopsville studios. Hope you enjoyed the chat we had with the Jostens Award winner. Cut up a little bit of the
Hersig interview. I apologize for that. You'll be able to see it in its entirety on d3hoops.com at a later date. We didn't cut up that much, but I apologize for that nonetheless. Going back to talk more about national champions, and we're going to waste a little time because I know he's patiently waiting for us. Head coach of the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, Bob Semling, joins us on the line. Coach, welcome to the show. Congratulations once again on a national title.
Well, thank you, Dave.
How's the trip going home, by the way?
Well, Dave, we're finally in Indiana. We're making progress. We're moving through Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio. We're into Indiana now, so we're making some progress back to Wisconsin.
Well, you're over halfway home, right?
Yeah, I'd say about halfway point. Yep.
Very good.
So,
I saw you.
Dave,
go ahead.
It's the excitement, the enthusiasm of a national championship game and all the drama, and now you've got a worn-out coach, weary, driving, not much sleep last night. So I apologize ahead of time if I sound a little tired and unenthused here, but believe me, inside I have great joy and great pride for our program, and could not be more pleased about what happened yesterday.
No, I can imagine. I saw you on the elevator this morning at 10 a.m., and I felt kind of bad hearing you were taking off and hitting the road. So I hope you're at least handing off to others so you can get a little bit of rest.
Well, right now I'm going to keep the wheel in my hand. you know how coaches like control, right?
Yes, I can totally understand that. Well, congratulations, Coach, on a terrific championship. Obviously, you had two very different games there. Let's start with the semifinal. Got up on Randolph-Macon rather easily. Second half, leading by 24 points at one point in time. Did you ever feel comfortable before they made their run? Did you at all feel comfortable and thought to yourself, maybe I can take these guys out and give them a rest?
Not at all. I thought just coming out of halftime, a team is going to change everything. If you're down, you start getting down 15 to 20 points, you're really going to play with great urgency and great pride. Up-tempo, you're going to get much more aggressive defensively, which Randolph-Macon did, and it becomes a different game, and I was concerned about us having a big lead and then momentum changing and then trying to get it back. So that's exactly what happened, and fortunately we were able to hold off Randolph-Macon. But give them credit, Dave, for just real spirited effort. They played with great pride in the second half, and they didn't want to end their season that way.
No, certainly. They battled back, got to within 8 points. I know you called a timeout right in that area. What'd you tell your team?
Just to kind of keep our poise, make sure that we keep our wits about ourselves. We had to be real strong with the ball because of how aggressive they were defensively, and we needed to make sure that we just got good quality shots up down the stretch there. And so it really was more about just, we're going to finish this. And our guys, I could tell that they did have that poise within them to regain and just get a little bit of a swing back in our favor. So it was just about momentum change right there.
And certainly coming down the end, Jenkins and Moses certainly were your two key guys, as they have been all season.
Well, this team all year, Dave, has had different guys rise up, and certainly Matt Moses, our senior, he's been really special these last 4 weeks in his career. And Jared just continues to get better. Jared probably played his basketball in his career also down the stretch in the NCAA tournament. And what can you say about a guy like Lou Hurd and Dan Tillema? But this team all year long, different guys. A freshman, Jarrell Harris, many times would step up and impact the game on both ends of the floor. And Nick Kroll, kind of the guy that doesn't get a lot of credit. The name isn't in the paper a lot, but he is one of the best defenders across the nation, and he can guard point guards through centers. So he gives us great versatility. But I can go on and on. It's just the guys that are 8, 9, and 10 and beyond who don't get to play had a real hand in this team playing their best basketball at the end of the season.
You got the semifinal under your belt. You had a very quick turnaround to get to the national title game against a Williams squad that, shot the lights out of the building against Guilford, and probably if they hadn't, wouldn't have gotten past Guilford. I know you didn't have much time to try and break it down, but how did you try and prepare for that championship?
Well, you're right, Dave. That was the greatest challenge that I've ever faced in terms of the biggest game, playing for the greatest prize, and you really did not have really any time to prepare other than a couple of hours after the game and maybe an hour before the game, and it just was such a tight turnaround. But we approached it the right way, and we made sure that we had a positive mindset and attitude about the quick turnaround with our guys, and they responded very well, and none of us slept too much that night. I can tell you that, Dave. But what we did is as soon as we got finished with that Randolph-Macon game, we got our guys on the bus and back within probably 30 minutes of the conclusion of that game, and we got our guys, our trainers got them into the ice baths and their tubs in their room, and 10, 15 minutes later we had Olive Garden, some food catered into a meeting room, and then we did our scouting report, and we tried to then just give them the basics that night on Williams. And probably 30 minutes later, after eating and going through scouting report stuff, we had them in their rooms and tried to get them to wind down and rest. And hopefully they got, at least 7, 8 hours of sleep before we had to get them up for breakfast and get them ready for that 1 o'clock tip.
Coach, obviously you had to go up against a Williams squad that shot pretty well the night before, really shot well all weekend.
Right, great team, great shooting team, tremendous. I can't say enough about Williams, and can't say enough about Mike Maker and the job he's done there so quickly. They really run good offense. They've got all the right pieces to play the way they do, and it's just a great system. Probably the best thing, honestly, Dave, the best thing was that we didn't have a whole lot of time to get nervous about how good they were.
Sure.
And I think we really said the focus has to be on us, and more specifically, Dave, we said we have to execute our defense better than Williams will execute their offense, and that will be the story of the game. And we talked the next morning and at halftime and during the course of the game that we needed to keep the game probably 70 points or less for Williams for us to have that shot we thought we needed to win the game. And we said if it gets to 80, it's going to be much tougher for us. And so that really, I thought, was important for us. We really kept the focus on us and on our defense, and there were times where I was really concerned because they made us look silly. They made us look foolish at times because they're so good. They can spread you out. They handle it, and they execute their offense so well. And and I'll tell you, the Whittington kid, who would have thought he would have had the game he had? And if I would have known that, I would have said, boy, our chances are real slim to beat them the way he played. So
yeah.
I think we really dodged a bullet, and I feel very fortunate that we were able to overcome that deficit and win that game.
Coach, you're down 10 midway through the second half. Were you worried there was no way you could come back on that unit?
No, not at all. Of course, concerned and understand the urgency. The task at hand became much more difficult, but there was never a time where I didn't believe we would have a run back at them, and especially with 10 minutes left, that's a lot of time. Yep. And the concern is, can you change the momentum? And And we were able to do that. We were able to finally get some multiple stops on defense, and then we started to get inside a little bit with some mismatches and get some fouls on some of their guards, and I think that really gave us a little bit of life, which led to the change in the momentum for us. And, of course, we hit some big shots, made some plays, finished, and that swung it. And, Dave, as you've watched over the years and you've seen big games like that in Salem, sometimes when that momentum changes, it's hard to change it back.
Yeah.
And you just never know how that's going to go. But it is, in our case, once we were able to swing it, then we were able to keep it in our favor.
Coach, you mentioned Whittington. It was interesting. Gohegan was nowhere to be seen in much of that second half for Williams. They went with Whittington, and I know you guys were a little worried about his presence. And certainly your point guard struggled with him a few times when he drove the lane. Were you surprised they didn't bring in the other big guy much? Did that play into your favor?
Obviously, he's so long and so athletic, and he's. You can just see. I'm sure he is growing up, week by week and month by month during this season, and he just getting better. With each practice, with each game, and you don't know with those young guys what they're going to be like on the national stage and the bright lights. And I think Mike, he had enough confidence, obviously, to play him, and if he played well, he was gonna get him extended minutes, and that's exactly what happened. He just impacted the game and just made it real hard for us. But fortunately, I think we got a couple of double teams on him late, and I don't think it was real effective. I think there was one time that I thought we had a jump ball, and they may have called a foul, and but I just think it was enough to keep him from just backing us down and scoring. When they spread the floor with four shooters and he was just backing our guys down and scoring, that made it real tough.
Certainly. Coach, what was it like when that final buzzer finally sounded?
Well, I was so proud of the way we finished the game, and a little nervous when we didn't score on a possession. We had a chance to make it a two-possession game, and we didn't score, and or I believe it was a three-possession game, and then we came down and lost the ball, and I believe it was Wang who stole it and scored and got the and one, and so that cut it to a one-possession game. But we were able to make big free throws. We tried to get the ball in the hands of our senior, Matt Moses, and he buried those free throws down the stretch. And so I was so proud of the poise and the courage we had to finish that game and close it out. And then it's hard to put it into words, Dave. It is so hard to the relief, the joy, the the emotions are just they overwhelm you, and so many thoughts go through your mind. I can't tell you. I thought about a million things in the next 3 to 4 minutes, and it was all kinds of things, like former players that, unfortunately we didn't get them down here, to, my father who passed away a few years ago that was down here in 04 and 05, and how much joy he took from that. But just so many things. The fans of Stevens Point, and how thankful I was that hopefully, I think it was like 500 or 600 people got to be there and see that live and in person. But just tremendous feelings that run through you very quickly when that final buzzer goes off.
Coach, it's certainly impressive victory for you guys to make your way all the way to the national title. Of course, you've now tied season record, or most wins in a season, I should say, with the other two UW-Wisconsin Stevens Point's teams in 04 and 05 with 29. Of course, you were on those two teams. Quickly, you compare them at all?
Well, that's real hard. I haven't even thought about that much, but every team is so different, Dave. This team was pretty physical. Our guards were big and pretty strong. We had real good depth. I think this team probably had a little more depth. We had 3 guys coming off the bench consistently that would impact the game with Joel Harris, our point guard, Dan Tillema, and Ross Foreman. But we had just a great team in 04 and 05, as you remember. That was a dominant team with Jason Kelsel and Nick Bennett, 2 guys that could score 30 on any given night and averaged about 20 their senior year. So, but just some great role players and guys around them that played their roles phenomenally well. And so it was just, I mean, again, it's hard to compare the two, but you know, all of them champions, and all of them have made their mark in the history of our program, which is steeped in tradition.
Sure. Hey, Coach, congratulations. Certainly a terrific accomplishment, to say the least. And I wish you nothing but safe trip the rest of the way. But obviously, we always give the coach the final word on the show. And since it's a final show in the final minutes, you get it. What's the final thought you have for those who may be listening?
Can I get 2?
Sure, go right ahead. As many as you want.
Well, first of all, I want to thank our fans for getting out to Salem and the support that they provide for us. Game days are really special, Dave, in Stevens Point, and our backcourt club and our community have been stirred up about Pointer basketball for a long time, and that goes back to Dick Bennett and Terry Porter, and then it goes back Jack Bennett and Jason Kelsel, Nick Bennett. Those guys really got us our first 2 NCAA national championships. But there's a real love affair, real passion between our community and the basketball program. So I cannot tell you just how grateful I am as a head coach to be a part of this. And the second, I would like to thank you, D3 Hoops, and your radio show. You guys really do such outstanding work, and it's for the student athletes, and you guys do it for the right reasons. You guys just love it, you're passionate about it, and you really do care about these kids, and you want to try to help them get a little extra recognition, which normally we don't get for them. But I can't thank you enough, because you really help us. You help our programs, and you help our recruiting, and it's really good for Division III basketball. So other than if I stop in Indianapolis and you can get me a flight home, other than that, I guess I'll sign off with that and look forward to speaking and looking forward to another great season of Division III basketball next year with you guys.
Very good, Coach. Thanks so much. I'd love to help you with that flight, but I barely got home myself, and my trip was a third as long as yours. So, hey, again, congratulations. Hats off to the Pointers. Hats off to your entire program on another national title. We will certainly look forward to seeing you guys next year and see how you battle through the WIAC. Enjoy the off season, Coach.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
All right, take care. Coach Bob Semling. Joining us from the University of Wisconsin Whitewater, Stevens Point Pointers, the national title for them 3 times in 3 tries down at Salem. Back-to-back titles in 04-05, and, of course, they return in 09 to win yet another national title. We'll see if they can get back there. Remember, Guilford loses their big 3-headed monster in Sanborn, Bonner, and Henson. Williams certainly lose a lot of good talent, including Jostens Award winner Blake Schultz. But Stevens Point loses Matt Moses, but they bring back a lot of other good guys. And Randolph-Macon loses nobody. They did have some seniors who did not see a lot of playing time. They will see a lot of guys back from there. Love to break down what we think about the rest of the conferences, but we're out of time because, seriously, there could be plenty else to talk about, but the season has drawn to a close. So I want to thank all of you first and foremost for a terrific season. Thank you for supporting us, especially on this whole new Ustream video thing with text graphics and the chat room. and all of that stuff. We appreciate your support, especially when we had the Gremlins earlier in the season. I want to thank Chris Tarr, my producer. He helps book most of our guests. He certainly works hard during the week to get that stuff done. Of course, Pat Coleman, Gordon Mann, Bob Quillman, J.C. DeLass, Rick Seidel. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else. Oh, Joe Davis, of course. I want to thank Joe Davis for all their contributions throughout, and every single coach we interviewed and player. I could not even come close to getting through those, I'm quite sure. We'll try and do some like little mini broadcasts and put them up on the site for you throughout the summer. I know that sounds ambitious. It probably is ambitious. I'm probably a little nuts to try and do that. But we'll try and give you some updates throughout the season and give them to you throughout. And we'll be back on the air coming up in November. We'll be happy to be here to chat it up with you guys and talk about the 2010-2011 season. Will WashU repeat? Will Stevens Point repeat? And who can come out of there and start the season strong? There's a lot to talk about, and we're just wrapping up the season. Thanks again so much for joining us. Thanks so much for supporting us. We'll certainly look forward to more support down the road, and we hope you enjoyed the show this season. For everybody at D3Hoops.com, Hoopsville, and National Association of Basketball Coaches, I want to thank them especially. Thank you so much. Enjoy the offseason. Enjoy the fact that the championships were some of the best we've seen, and we'll talk to you come November. Good night, everybody.